Friday here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. And the Steelers, if they're going to beat the Browns, if they're going to handle their own business, they've got to be the team they've been trying to be all season. I'll break that down here. I'm Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. A reminder, the Locked On Steelers podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and you can place your NFL live bets all season long, even during the playoffs. We'll get more from them later. Steelers fans, I want to first apologize. This episode was not up right away. We were not able to do it on Christmas Day, and I wasn't able to get it done before Christmas. So we're recording this the day after Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa to all those who celebrate Umoja. But I'm recording this, still putting it out because we still want to get you a pregame look at this game and hope that you get to enjoy this episode either Friday today or tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday, whenever you want to get your pregame fix in for the Steelers. And we've talked all week about the potential of not having DK Metcalf, and it's now a definite. Of course, he lost his appeal. He is going to be suspended the rest of the season. But the Steelers only need to win one game to clinch the AFC North. And yes, there's still the chance that the Ravens don't clinch the Ravens clinch it for them if they lose to the Packers Saturday night in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. The Steelers technically would not have to win, or not technically, they wouldn't have to win another game the rest of the season. But that game is very much in flux on both sides of the gridiron. Lamar Jackson is doubtful to play, which looks like Tyler Huntley's going to be playing for him. The Ravens are no strangers to that. But on the other side, the Packers have both their quarterbacks questionable in Jordan Love and Malik Willis. Now, don't know about the status of either. Both of them could be healthy, but both of them could be down. And if both of them are down, it's Clayton Tune. And because the Lions lost on Christmas Day, the Packers have clinched the playoffs. So technically, they don't have to play for anything to have a postseason, but they may want to strive to get a higher seeding. That's neither here nor there. The bottom line is the Steelers can end it all, regardless of what the Ravens do, if they beat the Browns Sunday, something they haven't done in Cleveland since 2021. And without DK Metcalf, it does pose to be a bigger challenge. But I think this plays right into what we've been saying about the Steelers team even before they signed Aaron Rodgers. I said the biggest thing this Steelers team needed to do this year was to develop an offensive line and a run game that could be dangerous and at least above average, so you can say that it's trending towards being a much better unit in 2026. And what have we seen the last few weeks, but that starting to come to light? You had 135 rushing yards against the Dolphins. You had 230 rushing yards against the Lions. And now you face a Browns team that, as we talked with Spencer German with Locked On Browns host for our Crossover Thursday Christmas episode, the Browns team is hurting in their run defense. They give 164 rushing yards to the Bills, 142 rushing yards to the Bears, 184 rushing yards to the Titans. They've been struggling to stop the run for the past several games. They've lost 4 straight. This is an opportunity for the Steelers to be the team that they've wanted to be all season long, with Aaron Rodgers, without Aaron Rodgers, whoever. They wanted to be a team that in the cold weather months could grind you out with his run game. And grind you out doesn't mean hard-hitting running backs like Najee Harris and the way he would kind of just bowl teams over and wear them down throughout games. It can mean we're putting our guys out in space, and you got to go chase Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren when they're in a full sprint, or Johnny Smith apparently, because he's in that mix now. That is where I think the Steelers, this game could play to their advantage. Because if you get that part of your game going, Myles Garrett ain't going to have that many chances to sack Aaron Rodgers. And it's been talked. I know there was a rumor put out that the Steelers are going to hold Myles Garrett if he has a chance to sack Aaron Rodgers because they don't want him to tie or break T.J. Watt's record. The Steelers ain't doing none of that. Now, they're going to put an emphasis to stop Myles Garrett because you could pretty much look back to all those losses in Cleveland that they've had for 4 straight years, 2022, 2023, 3 straight years. Math is hard, but you can look back to those and you can see Myles Garrett wrecking things. He wrecked the game last year, and that was a game where if the Steelers win that game, they are in a much better position down the stretch, and I think they would have even had a chance to be a higher seed and not have to play the Ravens off the bat. And I think they could have played the Texans in the first round and given themselves a better chance to get off the mat in the playoffs. But they can't let Myles Garrett wreck the game. And the best way to not let Myles Garrett wreck the game is to run the ball and run it well. And still, you're going to have to throw the ball. You're going to have to hit Adam Thielen. But I think the key here is what we've talked about. And when I asked Arthur Smith about the plan for no DK Metcalf, I asked him, is MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, is he going to take the reps? And then Arthur Smith is like, whoa, buddy, I'm not getting into this. And you see, the Steelers coaches, they're getting tired of my questions of trying to give me the answers, give me the goods as far as what the Steelers are trying to do. But I respect it because they're not supposed to, and they're not supposed to give me those answers. But I personally think how the Steelers are going to handle the absence of DK Metcalf is this. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to take on the role of the number 1 wide receiver. This does not mean he will get the bulk share of the targets, but he will run the routes that DK Metcalf has been running in the offense because he is a taller, receiver that can get downfield, that can make a big catch, and has the chemistry with Aaron Rodgers to maybe pull off some catches there. But I think what's going to happen is they want that MVS to go to that role so that Adam Thielen can be in his role, and then he can maybe be the primary receiving threat for the Steelers in where he lines up. They scheme up some open chances over the middle where it creates some conflicts in the Browns defense, and that's how they hit the passing game there. I also think this is another opportunity for just the weekly got to use Pat Freiermuth movement, which I think should be a thing for the Steelers in this game, but also Darnell Washington, also Johnny Smith. And you know what? If Calvin Austin can't go, he hasn't practiced this week. It's not going. It's time for Roman Wilson to get up, and this is your chance to prove yourself after you've been a healthy scratch for the past few weeks. There's an opportunity here for the Steelers to play to their script and win this game even without their number 1 wide receiver. And as we saw last year, that was something that destroyed them. When they lost George Pickens after that Browns game because he got into that scrap and then everything happened there, they could not function. And even when he came back, it was too much. It derailed them so much because they needed him. Russell Wilson needed George Pickens to make the offense work. I don't think this team needs DK Metcalf to make the offense work in a game like the Browns because the Browns are not a good team. Now, in the playoffs, they're going to need DK Metcalf. And I also think that against the Ravens, they may also need DK Metcalf because that's your rival. That's a team that, though they're on the outs of the playoffs right now, you know that the Steelers, Ravens, anything can go down any week between those two teams. And I think it's why you want to just handle your business this week so that next week there's no stress, there's no pressure. You can rest guys if you need to, and everything can be in your own hands. But to get there, I think there's truly an opportunity for the Steelers' offensive line and run game to cement their identity, and maybe not to cement it, but to establish this identity as something that teams have to really watch out for as a serious run threat offense. Yes, they struggled to run at points of the season. They only had 34 rushing yards against the Ravens just a couple weeks ago. They only had 58 rushing yards against the Bills a month ago, but they've run the ball well at times this year. We first saw it really come to light against the Vikings. They rushed for 131 that game. Then against the Browns the first time, they rushed for 100. Then against the Bengals, even though they lost that game, they rushed for 147. Against the Bengals the next time, 111. Against the Bears, 186. There is potential in this rushing offense. And if they can channel that against this Browns team, they can not only win this game, but they can also show teams when they start preparing for them in the playoffs that there's no one way to stop the Steelers offense. It's not just double DK Metcalf and the game's over. It's not just take away George Pickens and the game's over. It's not just take away the moon ball and the quick pass and the short pass underneath and the game's over. To beat the Steelers, if they can run the ball, you have to be a defense that is mindful of every single potential threat in their offense. That's something that Aaron Rodgers, I think, has been part of achieving. And we got to give credit. It's something that Arthur Smith has been cultivating all season long. So if that can be a factor for the Steelers, it can go a long way to them winning this game, locking their first AFC North division crown since 2020, and also setting themselves up for a lot of success this season. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to get to the picks here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. Be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. The Steelers opened as a 5.5-point favorite this week, but with the suspension of DK Metcalf, FanDuel bumped the Steelers down to being 3-point favorites in this game. So if you want to catch all the odds, ends, and lines moving, you got to go to FanDuel.com. Player props update as the game goes on and guides heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. We're also brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Alert for teams and matches make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode here, getting you into the Week 17 picks. Here we'll have Steelers, my Steelers Brown prediction here. Also, shout out to all our guests all season long. We're going to do this. We did this episode solo because it was the holidays. It was just timing was really tight with presents and family and everything else that we had to get done. So we apologize again for this episode being up midday Friday instead of our normal midnight Friday going into this thing. I know there's a lot of people that love to listen to the show on their way into work, but holidays. So let's get into the picks this year or this week. Of course, we want to first update the standings as far as where things stand in the ESPN Locked On Steelers Pigskin Pick'em League. There's 352 of you now competing with us each and every week. We've been picking games all season long. Standing in first place is N Sprizzle 43 with 170 correct picks. Amazing rate there. Right behind them, though, is Blitzberg with 169. So those two are duking it out for first place. Shout out Jenna Harner. She's still destroying me in every single way. She's up 13 games on me. She has 166 correct picks. I have 153. I resent myself for being destroyed so badly and so completely this year in the Pigskin Pick'em. But we move forward with our Pigskin Pick'em. We pick all the games. This segment will go over all the big games coming up. And they start with Saturday games. And we'll start with, a game that two games that are actually really important to the Steelers in the playoff scenarios. And first, before we get into that, we want to remind you all our odds, ends, and lines we provide on these games are brought to you by FanDuel. So let's get into the Saturday games. I know everyone's going to want to talk about Ravens, Packers, but the game before that is also important. The Texans play the Chargers. The Chargers are 1.5-point home favorites here. Game's in Los Angeles. This is actually a very interesting game. The Chargers have clinched the playoffs. They technically can catch the Broncos. They're 2 games back. There's 2 games left. Actually, no, I don't think they can catch the Broncos. No, if they win, I think that they can because I don't know the tiebreakers. Point being, the Chargers do have something to play for. They're still fighting for seeding, and I think that they would want to still control a bit of their own things. And yeah, they haven't clinched the division because the Broncos aren't clinched clinch division winner yet. So, the Chargers still have a division to play for. They're in the playoffs. They have every reason to keep playing. The Texans have not clinched the playoffs themselves. If they lose this game, technically the Colts could win out. I believe they play each other in week 17 or week 18, and the Colts could steal their wild card spot. This is going to be an interesting game, but I think the Chargers are going to come out on top. And why? I am really impressed by the Texans defense. I thought they'd be really good going into this year. They lived up to the hype, but I think the Chargers defense has also been really good. I think that Justin Herbert's going to pull them through. He's proven to be really tough this year. I think them at home gives them a slight edge. It'll be a close one. It'll be a fun one. Saturday will be a really fun game to watch. But give me the Chargers beating the Texans in a close one. I think they'll cover the 1.5 point spread because that's a really tight spread anyways. But let's get to the big game that everyone's talking about, that all Steelers fans and the Steelers themselves are going to be watching Saturday night, 8:01 p.m., Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Ravens at the Packers. The Packers are right now 4.5 point favorites on FanDuel, and this is a huge game. Why? Because if the Packers win, the Ravens are out of the playoffs. The Steelers have locked up the division, and the Steelers don't even need to win Sunday against the Browns. But this game is very much up in the air despite the 4.5 point spread. Now, I'm recording this Sunday about 11:10 a.m., so excuse me if I've missed the Friday injury report for the Packers, but we know the Ravens are doubtful that Lamar Jackson is going to play. It looks like Tyler Huntley is going to be their quarterback. But the Packers have listed right now both Jordan Love and Malik Willis, their backup quarterback, as questionable for this game. If both of them are not able to play, the Packers quarterback then would go to Clayton Tune. You don't know who Clayton Tune is. You don't need to know who Clayton Tune is. It's not going to go well for the Packers. But I think that the Packers get one of their quarterbacks up for this game. Yes, the Packers are clinched into the playoffs because the Lions losing on Christmas Day, and that is a factor that to take into consideration. But they can still fight for seeding, and they can still fight for the division. And I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to win in Green Bay. I think the Ravens have just been struggling. I think this is just their knockout punch. They get toasted here. The Packers find a way to win, and that'll be that. And the Steelers will clinch their division. I still think the Steelers come out fighting against the Browns, but I think the Packers win this one in Green Bay. Let's get to the other games here because this is still a fun slate this week. The Seahawks are at the Panthers. The Seahawks are 7.5 point favorites. The Seahawks right now are the 1 seed in the NFC at 12-3. They're trying to hold on to that right now. The Carolina Panthers, though, 8-7 and a game up on the Buccaneers. And those teams play in week 18. That could be for the division. That could be for who goes to the playoffs for the NFC South. I think the Seahawks win this one. They've been a very consistent team. I have them controlling this one. I do think the Panthers cover. I think the Panthers make it a game, but the Seahawks go into Carolina and handle their business. Another Sunday 1 p.m. game, excuse me. Cardinals at Bengals. Bengals are 7 point favorites. Give me the Bengals. I think this is where they kind of like put their flag in the ground and say, yeah, we could have been better this year. And they keep beating up on teams the way they beat up on the Dolphins. I just think the Bengals, they still got their quarterback and receivers going. They're going to light it up. And you know what? Give me the points too. I think the Bengals win by more than a touchdown in that one. Buccaneers at Dolphins. Buccaneers are 5.5 point favorites in Miami. Dolphins are packing it in. Give me the Buccaneers and give me the points. I think they'll cover the spread because I think the Dolphins are pretty much packing it up for the season, and the Buccaneers need this game if they have any hope of winning the division and making it to the playoffs. Next up, the Jaguars at the Colts. The Jaguars also road 5.5 point favorites against the Colts. The Jaguars are playing some good football. I'm not going to deny that right now. The Steelers may be looking at them, and the Steelers do have a chance to overtake them if the Jaguars lose out and the Steelers win out. The Steelers could claim the 3 seed in the playoff race. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think the Jaguars are playing well. I think the Colts, especially after that loss last week to the Niners, Phillip Rivers, I think they're packing it up. Give me the Jags and give me the 5.5 points. I think Jacksonville handles their business in Indianapolis. Next up, Patriots at Jets. Patriots are 13.5 point favorites. Huge spread in this game. I think that the Patriots, them being in this chase for the 1 seed, which is not over, The Patriots are 12-3. I think they'll win this game. I'm going to say that the Jets cover. It's a division game. It's a road game. Weird things can happen for the Patriots. I think that they keep it within 2 touchdowns, but I think that the Patriots win and win confidently. But the Patriots, they're fighting here because they want that 1 seed, and they need to. If they win out, they can handle their business and get it. But the Broncos, interesting. They barely beat the Chiefs. It's a huge game at the end of the season. Broncos Chargers, week 18. That all eyes are going to be on that one. I'm so hoping the NFL makes that one of their night games and not Steelers Ravens, because your boy would love a nice 1 p.m. kickoff at Acrisure Stadium. That'd be my Merry Christmas present. But that being said, I think the Patriots handle their business and they put pressure on the Broncos to have to win to get that 1 seed next week. Give me the Patriots. They're going to win that one. Saints at Titans. Interesting game here. The Saints are 2.5-point favorites on the road. The Titans just had a nice game. But give me the Saints. I think they're rolling right now. I think they're playing at a decent clip. I liked what I've seen out of Tyler Shuck. I haven't studied them. I'm not going to pretend like I've studied them intently. But they've won 3 straight. They've won 4 of their last 6. And 2 of those games were divisional opponents that were fighting for the playoffs, Buccaneers and the Panthers. Their win over the Jets, kind of expected. But I'm impressed by how they've carried themselves. I think they'll go into Tennessee, continue this run, and who knows? Maybe the Saints end on a 5-game winning streak and beat the Falcons next week, and the legend of Tyler Shuck will roll into New Orleans next season, and everyone will be really excited about that. But so give me the Saints in this one. I'll take the points as well at 2.5. Giants at Raiders, 2 very lost teams right now. The Giants are 1.5-point favorites. The Raiders are at home. Neither of these 2 teams seem too interested in much. Give me the Giants. They need to win something. I don't like either of these teams. I haven't studied either of these teams too much lately, but I think the Giants on the road can get something going. I think the Raiders, they've struggled mightily everywhere. The Giants at least have a young quarterback. They have belief in their future. I don't know if the Raiders have belief in much right now. A huge game, maybe game of the week. There's a few of them, those candidates this week, is the Eagles at the Bills, 4:26 kickoff. The Bills are 1.5-point favorites. Now, the Eagles have locked up the division. And also, it's important to note, the Eagles just broke what is I think was a 23-year curse or something like that. It was the curse of the NFC East, where nobody has repeated as division champions since the Eagles did it back in like 2003 to 2004. So them winning the division this year, granted, partially because the Cowboys sucked, the Commanders sucked, and the Giants sucked. But they've handled their business. But the Bills are fighting for playoff position. The Steelers, I think, would want the Eagles to win this game, because personally, I think that they would match up better with the Chargers having to come to town in the first round of the playoffs and getting the Chargers as the 5 seed. As it stands right now, the Chargers are the 5 seed. I think it's also why Steelers fans should want the Chargers to handle their business right now. But I think that the Bills handle their business this week. They get a win. They keep things rolling. It's going to be a close one. I think the Eagles are still a tough team. They're still playing for playoff seeding as well. I think they can technically move up if they win out. But the Bills, I think, are playing better football right now. When I look at the way that Josh Allen's thing, they've won 4 straight, and that 4-game win streak started with the Steelers. The Eagles have won 2 straight, but they had that's against the Raiders and against the Commanders. Neither team have been good right now. Their 3 games before that: a loss to the Cowboys, a loss to the Bears, a loss to the Chargers. Give me the Bills. We had them another loss in this one. Moving forward, the Bears at the Niners, Sunday Night Football. The Niners are 3-point favorites in this one, but give me Chicago. They're making me a believer of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and what they're putting together over there. They're clutch. They've won 2 straight. They've also won 7 of their last 8, with their only loss being to the Packers in Green Bay. Tough place to play. I know the Niners can be a tough place to play, but give me Chicago. I think Caleb Williams returns to California, handles his business, and the Bears keep rolling into the Lions game at the end of the season and looking pretty strong there. And also, I mean, this also is a game that's interesting for the NFC playoffs, because the NFC West is not settled. Despite the Seahawks being the 1 seed at 12-3, the Niners are right behind them at 11-4, but also the Bears are right behind them at 11-4. So A lot could be on the line with this one. I think the Bears handle their business. Seahawks, Niners, week 18, huge for all teams fighting for that number one spot. Shout out Luda. Let's keep it moving here. Monday Night Football and the final game of the week. Rams at Falcons, excuse me. Rams are 8.5-point favorites. Yeah, give me the Rams. They're also a team fighting for the 1 seed. The Falcons are not it. This is going to be a solid win. That's the other thing. The NFC West, we talk about the Seahawks and the Niners. The Rams are also 11-4. Really tight race in the NFC. The Rams keep pace, and everything becomes dramatic in Week 18. And I hope it does, because that makes my job easier. But let's get to another break here. On the Locked On Steelers podcast, we get you our Steelers prediction against the Browns here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports: bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're making choices every day in life, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats: fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. The early payoff feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups and play your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's continue our episode here talking about the Steelers and how they're going to take on the Browns. As always, our odds, ends, and lines for these games are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The FanDuel has moved the Steelers throughout the week from being a 5.5-point favorite to start the week to a 3-point favorite going into this game. Of course, that's probably impacted by DK Metcalf being suspended and not being in this game. The money line for the Steelers at -166. Money line for the Browns +140. The over-under has moved from 35.5 points to 34.5 points. Now, I'm going to point this out at the start of this, is that, again, I'm recording this. It's currently 11:35 as I say this to you. The Steelers practice reports and injury reports have not been released for Friday, but I think they've gotten some good news as far as the injury report from Thursday. Now, the Steelers did add Trey Flowers at cornerback this week. I think that's anticipation of Brandon Echols not being available. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. I'm getting the sense he probably won't practice Friday. That's probably their emergency quarterback in a tough situation. Calvin Austin also hasn't practiced this week with a hamstring injury. Tough to see him to come back. But the Steelers did see Jaylen Warren go from limited to full from Wednesday to Thursday. James Pierre has practiced in a limited capacity all week. That could be huge. That could give them cornerback depth again at that position. Jalen Ramsey didn't practice Thursday with an illness, but I'd expect him to be back Friday. He's been pretty tough all season long. Nick Herbig and TJ Watt and Isaac Seumalo all have been limited participants every day in practice this week. That's a good sign that all 3 of them might be able to play this game. Now, maybe not TJ Watt. Maybe they hold him back just to be precautioned because his situation is from the dry needling incident. But I could see Herbig and Seumalo being back for this game. I could also see if the Steelers are clinched going into Sunday, they might say, all right, all guys who are questionable, down. Backups, get in there. Now, they're not going to do it to everybody. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers, he's healthy. He's going to play. He's been a full participant all week long. He is locked in and ready to go. But I think health-wise, Steelers could be looking at a positive situation going into this game. One question could be at wide receiver. What do they do there if Calvin Austin doesn't play? DK Metcalf suspended. Again, I think MVS is your 1, Thielen's your 2, then maybe Scotty Miller's your 3, Roman Wilson's your 4, and then maybe you're moving things around to try to make things happen. They did sign Brandon Johnson, I think, to the practice squad. But let's look more at this matchup. Again, I think on the offensive side of the ball, you got to stop Myles Garrett. You can't let him wreck the game, and that's where I talk about running the football. This is the week to show that you're actually that team, it's not a fluke that you just did it against the Dolphins and the Lions. You could do it against a divisional opponent in their house, on the road, 3 weeks in a row, running the football. That's huge. But on the defensive side, you have made such strides this year. This is why I like this Steelers team and where they are right now. The Steelers are a team, and I think that they're trending in the right directions, in the right areas, for the right reasons. It's not just that they're playing bad teams. They've been a team that has been trending upwards, figuring things out, and getting better in the areas that they're supposed to get better. The defense has been playing more consistently, especially they were trending upwards after the Packers loss. I think that they had some hiccups there against some really good offenses, but the Ravens, we know how talented they can be. We know how they can light it up. They did a good job limiting them. The Dolphins were red hot coming into that game. They put out both of those hot teams. The Ravens had won 4 out of 5 going into that game. The Dolphins, I think, had run 3 or 4 straight. The Lions were the number 1 offense in the NFL and needed to win that game. And I think it's potential the Steelers broke them when you look at the way the Lions just look pathetic on Christmas Day. The defense has been taking steps forward. So now you can be the team that continues to take a step forward against a bad offense. And this, to me, is why I think the Steelers are in a really good place. Because the Browns, their offensive line hasn't been great this year. Their run game with Quinshon Judkins has been great, but he's out for this game. And the backup Dylan Sampson is questionable. I think this is a chance for the Steelers to really take over, for the defense to come out and put an exclamation point on their progress, say, we're much better at stuffing the run. We're much better at taking away your first and second reads away, for you to have to get to your third and fourth read for you to have a chance. And that is not where I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be good at. I think that Kevin Stefanski offenses, when they hurt the Steelers the most, the run game is working, the balanced offense is there, and the quarterback can go first read, second read, ball out. You can't let that happen this week if you're the Steelers. That, to me, is huge for this game. You got to come out. You got to win on offense, run the ball, be balanced, force them to honor several different things, work without DK, that's fine. But defensively, this needs to be a statement game by the defense that they can beat up on somebody. And I mean beat up on them. Don't let them run the ball. Shedeur might hit a big pass here or there. Things happen. Harold Fannon's been performing well at tight end. Jerry Jeudy, is a threat. But Joey Porter Jr. shut him down last time. And Joey Porter Jr. has been a shut-down corner this year. Anyone that tells you that he's not is lying to you. Go look at his coverage numbers. I think he has the 3rd best passer rating allowed when you look at his numbers. And you say, oh, the penalties are up. He has less penalties than the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain. Please. He's playing lights out. This is a week for the defense to put it together. Don't overlook the Browns. I don't think that they're overlooking. When I talk to these guys, they seem locked in. They're like, we don't care what the Ravens do. We got to beat the Browns. And I think they do that. I think the Steelers march into Cleveland. They handle their business. Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, I think that they combine each all-purpose yards combined will be over 200 yards. That's my bold prediction for this game. They're going to have over 200 yards combined between the two of them. Won't just be on the ground, it'll be ground and air. And it'll help balance what the Steelers are doing on offense. You know what? I'll even go bolder. I'm going to say they'll combine for 250 yards from scrimmage between Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. And that'll be the key that gets the Steelers forward. You'll see a touchdown from Pat Freiermuth, maybe a Connor Hayward Spartan play. The tush push was what they call the tush push. But I think this is a game where the Steelers put it together and you see them win a complete game. I have the Steelers winning in Cleveland, 24-6, handling. No, I say 24. Yeah, I'll go 27-6. Handle their business. They celebrate in Cleveland for the first time since 2021. They play walk in yo trap, take over yo trap, and they head into Week 18 with nothing on the line other than trying to get an 11-6 record. Which, by the way, you go back to the start of this season, that was my predicted record for this team. They got a chance to do it. I think they will. Whether they do or they don't, we'll be here on the Locked On Steelers podcast Sunday night after the game or Sunday afternoon after the game, breaking things down. Also, check out the Locked On Steelers Squad Show with Tyler Feldman, Wayne Gandy, and our crew there. I'm going to try to make that, but we got to balance a lot. I got final word to do for Channel 11 the night of the game. But we hope that you enjoyed you enjoyed your Christmas, your holiday, your happy Hanukkah, happy belated Hanukkah to all our people who celebrate that. Happy Kwanzaa to people who celebrate that as well. Happy holidays to everyone. Hope that you're enjoying it with family and loved ones, that you're getting to really take in the holiday season here. We hope that you're enjoying taking in the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get social media. My handle is always at Carter Critiques. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com, and you can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes. Also, shout out, I'm doing, I believe, what's the quarter century team of the 2000s, the best all time, or the best Steelers team of that era. That'll be in the Post Gazette this weekend. So that'll be a fun one. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. But thanks again for everyone for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. See you Sunday after the game.